and good afternoon, fellow PMAPers. Truly, our beloved PMAP continues to grow. And this afternoon, allow me to present to you our batch of new members for June. So, as I call the name of your companies, please just come up the stage. Okay? We'd like to start off with Entrata Hotel Services Incorporated. Next we have Global Process Manager Incorporated. Next, Macrologic Diversified Technologies Incorporated. Next, we have Macro Pharma Corporation. Our next new member is St. Joseph Group Incorporated. Next we have Terata Trust Advisory Incorporated. Trinity Insurance Brokers Incorporated. And last but not the least, Surpass Enterprise Incorporated. So my fellow PMAPers, please let us give them a big round of applause, our June batch. May I now call on our past president, Mr. Jesse Rebustillo, for the charging of our new members.
Good afternoon. You can never take pictures if your cell phone is not fully charged. So, you need to be charged. You have to answer me with your loudest voices, the charging of new members. Do you pledge to maintain your membership in good standing by complying with all rules, regulations, or directives of the People Management Association of the Philippines? Louder. For the last time, louder please. At the same time, go. Yes. Do you pledge to uphold the creed and code of ethics of the People Management Association of the Philippines, and to practice all the principles that the PMAP shall enunciate or promulgate?
Yes.
Do you pledge to attend all meetings of the PMAP, whether annual, regular, and special, or committee meetings, and to vote on any matter referred to you by the PMAP whenever voting is necessary for any action that the PMAP shall take?
Yes.
Do you pledge to pay your annual dues and other assessments?
Yes.
Second time.
Yes.
Now for the membership, we need to charge you also to support the new members of our association. I think I will ask you to stand up. With your loudest voices. Do you pledge to support our new members in their quest for HRM excellence?
Yes.
Do you pledge to extend a helping hand so that all of the objectives and programs that our association hopes to accomplish can be achieved?
Yes.
Do you pledge to help make our new members' involvement in PMAP a rewarding and fulfilling experience?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, President Mon, they are now ready for the election. I think we have to remain standing to add solemnity to the occasion.
I was reminded by past President Jesse that his batik is of the high-end kind, right? On the way here. But anyway, by the way, thank you for choosing PMAP to be your HR home. So from the bottom of my heart, maraming salamat po. And we're now going to do our oath of office. So, I state your name. Sorry, you have to please raise your right hand. I state your name, state your company name, recognize and accept the responsibility incumbent upon me as member of the People Management Association of the Philippines. I pledge myself to perform the tasks of my position in accordance with the PMAP Constitution and bylaws, and to be faithful to the traditions of our founding fathers, to observe and maintain high standards of performance in the practice of the people management profession, to uphold and protect the principles and objectives for which the association was founded, and to attend all meetings and deliver all results expected of me on time and in the highest standards of excellence. In discharging these obligations, I impose upon myself these responsibilities willfully and conscientiously, and with zeal and dedication, without purpose of evasion. So help me God. Congratulations.
May I now call on the other officers of PMAP and the Board of Trustees for the bidding. Come forward for just one pose for the picture, for just one group picture. Can you all please move forward? Let's all move forward para for the picture. Move forward. Very much, and again, let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much, VP Jesse, President Mon, and the officers and Board of Trustees of PINA. Now, I just would like to acknowledge the members who have been regularized, and if you have representatives, please come up the stage as I call the name of your company. Okay. have been regularized is AF Payments Incorporated. Next, Chemlux Incorporated. CJ Korea Express Philippines Corporation. Connecting Mavens Incorporated. Icon Solutions Asia Incorporated. Radio Veritas Global Broadcasting System Incorporated. SSA Consulting Group Services International. And World of Work Recruitment Specialist. So here are our newly regularized members. Let us all give them a big round of applause. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Picture taking now. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you to PMAP for inviting me to your monthly meeting. Just a quick introduction of myself. My name is Pauline Fermin, and I'm the Managing Director of Acumen, a brand strategy consultancy and training firm. Our company helps clients achieve business success through our consulting, where we craft brand and business strategies, and through our training solutions that build commercial and marketing capabilities either through customized in-house modules or through our public workshop and conferences in Brand Bootcamp. These are the industries we have worked on and some of the clients we have serviced on both consulting and training. So I have been asked to talk to you about branding, and the way I will do it is to first discuss how branding is from a classic marketing standpoint. Then I will attempt to talk to you about what the implications are from an HR standpoint. So let's dive into the topic. Branding is one thing that I'm quite passionate about, and I'm fortunate to have worked for 2 companies that honed this passion on what branding truly is. Procter & Gamble, the company that invented brand management, was my first employer. And the Coca-Cola Company, makers of the world's most valuable brand, is where I spent the most number of years in my career. If there is one concept that was inculcated in me from these companies, it's this. That strong brands lead to business success. That the only way to have healthy, growing revenues and sustainable profits is to have a strong brand. Before I make the connection between branding and HR, allow me now to show you first a short video about brands, its importance, and how we go about building strong brands. Play the video, please.
Brands are in the very fabric of our lives, from the moment we wake up to the time we go to sleep. They keep our clothes clean. They make us ready for our day. They make our family dinner time and weekend bonding extra special. Provide us comfort food and make birthdays extra special. They alleviate our boredom. They connect us to our loved ones and open up the world at the tap of a finger. But beyond what we actually use, there are many more options available to us. That's why it's important for these brands to stand out. Promise relevance. Deliver and create a relationship that is sustained in time. This is what a strong brand is all about. A strong brand gets chosen over all the alternatives. A strong brand gets bought over and over again. A strong brand gets recommended and talked about. A strong brand can withstand competitive pressures. A strong brand delivers business results and higher return on capital. Thus, the important challenge for all marketing practitioners is, what does it take to become a strong brand? How do you build a strong brand? Research has proven time and again that people don't just consume and interact with brands. They actually form relationships with them. And if marketers are to succeed in building strong brands, we have to go beyond thinking about consumers as target markets, but really to make aware of our brand to convince to purchase it. As marketers, we have to have a mindset that building brands is about building relationships. It is about connecting with consumers by creating and nurturing a meaningful relationship. Strong brand relationships, which results to a loyalty even in the face of alternatives, have also been found to be dependent on the brand's ability to make the consumer feel special, listen to, wanted, respected, and cared for, create frequent, diverse, and intense brand interactions, be dependable, reliable, and predictable, be trustworthy and faithful, and be accountable for its actions. Taking the cue from them, brand building thus means you have to make the consumers feel like they are at the center of your universe, that you are here to delight, excite, and engage them. This time, it really is all about them. The most successful brands not only have strong intimate relationships with their consumers, but also work diligently to cultivate, manage, and grow those relationships in significant ways. How do you go about building that relationship? Know who you want to talk to, then reach out and get to know your target market. Truly and deeply understand them. Not just how they will relate to you, but also their bigger life story. Have clarity on who you are, the core of your identity, and your own unique, compelling promise. Be what your target needs or wants you to be. Develop compelling and relevant attributes that fulfill your target market's needs and wants. Find all means to make her acquaintance, and when you do, make your presence heard and felt. Seek out and talk to your target market. Let them know who you are and start delivering on your promise. Make each encounter engaging and memorable. And finally, make sure you keep the love alive. Always be true to your promise. Deepen the relationship and seek to delight all the time. When you fail, show genuine concern and win them back. Are you ready for the challenge? Are you ready to build your brand? Are you ready to create and nurture a genuine relationship with your consumers?
Why are we talking about branding among people managers? Because when it comes to attracting and retaining talent, companies as employers need to be managed as brands. Why? Because good talent, the ones who you want to be your employees, have a lot of options. And those with the best talents and qualifications will choose to work for you based on what they perceive about your company. That perception, or what we call brand image, should make your company attractive and stand out among all their employment options. As part of your wider talent attraction and recruitment strategy, a strong, very positive and transparent employer brand will help you attract, hire, and retain the best people. Now let's go through how a brand is built, and allow me to explain the fundamentals of brand building through a model that we in Acumen use in helping our clients define their brand strategy as well as in developing training curriculums. It's that brand lab model that you've seen already in the video. So as mentioned also in the video, research has proven that consumers form a relationship with brands. And that the kind of relationship strong brands have with its target market is akin to a romantic love that exists between two married individuals. So we're going to use that analogy, and we develop a simple framework that defines the major steps in building brands. Let's go through this one by one, and I will link it to attracting and retaining talent. First, know who you want to talk to and get to know them. In classic marketing, this step involves the first of two most important strategic questions that the company must answer. Who is our target? And to be able to answer it, there are several things that must be done. First, assess the market. Second, within the broad market definition, what meaningful segments exist. Third, among those segments, which one should we target? When we do define our target market, we don't identify them just on the basis of demographic descriptors such as age or socioeconomic class. We also identify other important dimensions about this segment, such as what you can see in the slide. These dimensions are basically insights into what is important to them and what their needs are. These needs then form the basis of what we will promise them in the proposition. I'll tackle that in a while. So how does this translate to employer branding? In this first quadrant, the key word here is who. Who are you looking for? And just like in marketing, describing who it is you're looking for should go beyond the typical qualification criteria on age and number of years of experience in a certain field. You would also need to profile the skills, the expertise, and competencies your organization needs to execute your business strategies, as well as defining the personal values each candidate need to have to fit into your company culture. The ways in which the who is defined by your company will be unique to each one of you, and there are many different approaches. One approach that I have discovered being the managing director of Acumen is the position scorecard that is described in the book Who by Jeff Smart. It is not a job description, but rather describes the mission for that position. It describes the outcomes that must be accomplished, and competencies that fit with both the role and the company culture. By using this tool for our own recruitment in Acumen, it enabled me to have a good profile of who I wanted to hire based on our business strategy and organization design. The second quadrant in the brand love model is define who you are. Develop your own unique, compelling promise that can fulfill your target market's needs and wants. This is what we typically call the brand strategy piece, and is the second important set of strategic decisions you need to make. In marketing, this step includes defining, first, the long-term vision for the brand as a business. Where do you want your business or your brand to be 5 to 10 years from now? Second, assessing how strong a brand's equity is, using 5 dimensions that we know correlate with strong brands. That is, first, awareness. Does your target market know about you? Second, brand image. What is their image about you? What is their perception about you? Third, very important for the Philippine market, is value for money. Are they getting what is worth the money that they pay you? Fourth would be brand assets, such as a logo or strong properties. And finally, brand loyalty. In this step, on assessing your brand equity, it is important to have an objective assessment from the target market's point of view and not from the marketer's point of view. We are all in love with our brand and think that it's the best thing that ever happened since sliced bread. And this is one of the pitfalls of marketers. They define their brand equity from their own lens, and they forget sometimes that they are not the target market. It is our target audience who needs to decide that. And it will be based on how he perceives our brand to be. Third, this piece involves defining and articulating the brand positioning. And let me now
talk about brand positioning more deeply. What is a brand positioning statement? It essentially is a strategy document that articulates what a brand wants to stand for, its promise or proposition to its target market. The major components of a positioning statement include target market. Who do you want to talk to? This is what I talked about in the previous quadrant. What are you promising to your target market? This includes the functional and emotional benefit that you want your target to know about you. Third is the reason to believe, the proof points that lend credibility to your brand's ability to deliver on the promise. And finally, brand character and tonality. If your brand were a person, who would he or she be? And what should the tone of your communication be? Before I continue, I need to clearly emphasize one important principle. Brand positioning is not just something for the marketing department and their ad agencies to communicate. The delivery of the brand promise is the responsibility of the entire company. In Coca-Cola, we live by the premise that everything communicates, which means that every touch point, be it the advertising, the Coca-Cola truck, the employees, or the one who answers the company trunk line, all of them, everything communicates something about the brand. So how does this now translate to HR and in attracting the best talent? The key word here that we have to remember is why. Why would the best talent want to work for you? What makes you a better employer than their other options? Essentially, what is your employer value proposition? Let's define an employer value proposition. An employer value proposition is the company's brand positioning statement that includes a set of associations and offers given by an organization in return for the skills, experience, and capabilities that employees bring to the company. EVP is the value employees receive by working for you. It is the reason why the right people, the best talent that you need for your company would want to work for you. This proposition needs to be clearly defined and articulated into an internal strategy document, similar to how we do it for brands with a brand positioning statement. Even big, well-known companies need to be deliberate about what their brand should stand for. An EVP is employee-centered and covers the most important benefits that an employee gets out of being a part of your company. The salary, the amount of salary would be of course on top of the list, but as we all know, it is not the only criteria that potential employees look for. If your company is on the top percentile of the salary benchmarking, yes, of course, do leverage on that in your EVP. But the reality is that not all companies are on the upper percentile. It is then important to remember the other factors that most employees regard as the key benefits they get from working from a particular company, such as career opportunities and promotion prospects, job security, challenging and meaningful work, being part of a recognized and respected brand, and being part of a market leader. In our deep dive into the millennials, because this is one topic that's quite popular, through our ethnographic research, we identified some attributes that they look for as employees. First, mentoring to hone their leadership skills. This is one generation that is very empowered. Second, flexibility on where, when, and how work is done. Because for millennials, work and life is integrated, whereas us Gen Xers strive for work-life balance, for them they integrate work and life. Third, impact to society. More and more millennials are very cognizant of what a company does to the society, and thus it forms an important criteria for them to choose where to work. Fourth, inclusive and open-minded working culture. And finally, and this is a big one, travel opportunities, not just as part of their work, but also as a benefit. How do you craft your employer proposition? You have to start with the same foundations that marketers heavily invest in, and that is market understanding. From your employees, find out if you really are an attractive place to work in. Find out why they get up every day to come to work. You'll often find common themes amongst your teams and across the company. Questions such as, would you refer us as a place to work to a friend, and why? That question is great to get people talking. Among newly hired employees, we often ask an important question. Why did you choose to work for this company instead of your other options? This will surface what your differentiating attributes are. And among the tenured ones, we ask, why have you been loyal all these years? Because this will then surface what you do very well in developing brand loyalty. This process of employee research is invaluable in identifying the attributes that make you stand out as an employer, what your company culture is, and the core values of the company, not as you define it, but as seen from the eyes of your employees. All of these are the important inputs to crafting an employer proposition. When we did this kind of research for a consulting project, there were some pretty interesting learnings. In one client, the managers who were loyal and highly satisfied with their jobs attributed to the culture of support that exists in the company, and if that culture changes, they said they would quit. In another service company where salaries are lower than industry benchmarks, we found very loyal employees, and of course we were curious. We asked them what made them stay. The answer is that they are positively challenged by the job, stemming from the dynamism of the industry they are in, and also how much they truly feel the genuine concern that the owner has for the employees. So these things may not be surfacing on a day-to-day basis, and they may not articulate it, but it requires some digging and often an objective third-party research company. And by the way, we don't do the research ourselves. We have research companies to do that. The research companies are the ones who do that, so that the employees need to feel secure that whatever they say will not be taken against them. So in fact, when we do these kinds of research, we require that the client is not present. And that the employees' names are maintained to be anonymous. Research like this must be the starting point in your journey to define your employer proposition. You can claim to be the best place to work in and promise a strong value proposition, but if it is not a reality that your current employees see, you will eventually falter in delivering on that promise. Once you have that robust understanding, it is now time to craft the brand positioning statement. And what I have in the slide now is a pro forma example of an employer positioning statement. Pardon if you can't read it, I will read it out now. And this brand positioning statement was based on several months of employee research. Okay, let's start. So to target market 21 to 34 years old who see their career as a means to making a difference in the world through service and having a positive impact on other people's lives. Although salary is a key consideration, their motivation to work goes beyond just compensation and benefits. They look for work that is fulfilling, something that gives them a sense of purpose. Company X promises a fulfilling professional career that enables you to provide for your and your family's needs while maintaining a good work-life balance, and therefore emotionally gives you the assurance that you are valued as an individual. Reason to believe, that's because Company X is a pioneer in the industry and has through time developed the best culture. A culture conducive to learning and success, promoting good work-life balance, providing competitive compensation and benefits, and innovative tools for ease of work and increased productivity. This is evidenced by the status of their successful employees and homegrown leaders. And if the company were a person, he would be a mentor or coach, and the tonality of the communications will be credible, encouraging, collaborative, and positive. So in essence, this is how a brand positioning for an employer would look like. These words were carefully chosen one by one and articulated based on the deep learnings that we gathered from the employee research in order to make sure that it is, one, relevant to the target audience, which means it really answers what their needs are as employees. It's also differentiating versus competitors, because we asked those who are new recruits why they chose this particular company. And finally, let me emphasize again, we had to make sure that it was real and tangible within the company to make sure that when we do promise this proposition, it is something they can deliver on. Let's move now to the third quadrant. Make your presence heard and felt. Seek out and talk to your target market. Do not assume that your target market know about you. Let them know who you are and start delivering on your promise. Make each encounter engaging and memorable. In marketing, this involves bringing the proposition to life through product, packaging, and pricing. It also involves having a brand identity system, as well as making sure that the target market actually becomes aware of it and understands what the brand is all about. This is done through marketing, communication, and media plans. For HR, the key question that you need to answer is how. How do we find the right candidates? How do we manage the recruitment process to effectively convey our value proposition? And finally, how do we communicate our brand proposition? Let's tackle the first part. How do you find them and how do you communicate who you are to them? After identifying who you want to hire and knowing why you are a great employer, now assess your marketing channels and create a plan. Do you now need to invest in a multimedia advertising and communication plan to communicate externally to your prospective applicants? My answer is yes and no, depending on the numbers. If you belong to a highly competitive employment industry such as the BPOs, who need to hire a great number of employees constantly, then I believe the answer is yes. You can benefit greatly from the scale and efficiency of mass communications. If, however, those are not your hiring circumstances, then a more targeted communication approach would be advisable. For external communications, there are a variety of communication channels to find your candidates and make known who you are and what your value proposition is. Of course, recruiters and headhunters is one formal channel. Social media is another potent channel, and we all know that LinkedIn is now the default social media platform for recruitment. We should also not overlook the importance of the careers section of your company website, given that millennials are highly digital. A search and list of jobs, by the way, isn't enough. It is a fantastic opportunity to actually engage with potential applicants who has made a strong buying signal by checking out your website. Tell them what to expect if they work for you using current employee testimonials. People want to hear why a staff member loves their job, not why the CEO thinks their employees are happy. Part of this quadrant in developing brand love is on making each encounter engaging and memorable. And to me, this touches on recruitment and onboarding. The way the application process is managed, whether the employee gets the job or not, as well as how an employee is properly transitioned into his job, will leave lasting memories and will form part of the company's brand image. I do want to remind you that there is one informal but very important channel, and that is your existing employees. They are your best brand ambassadors for your company, and like it or not, what they say to their family, friends, and relatives about their job, what they post on Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat about their job goes a long, long way informing the brand image of your company. And thus, you should pay attention to your internal communications in as much as you pay attention to your external communications. You need to ensure that you articulate your vision, core values, and your proposition to the employees using proper internal communication touchpoints or even merchandising materials. This is important in getting them to imbibe, live, and communicate what you want your company brand to stand for. Fourth, and finally, in this quadrant, keep the love alive. So for those of you who are married, you know how important this is, especially if you're married 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Keep the love alive. Always stay true to your promise. Deepen the relationship and seek to delight all the time. When you fail, show genuine concern and win them back. For marketers, this involves customer relationship management. It involves innovation to constantly delight. It involves corporate social responsibility. It involves crisis management and the ability to say sorry when something goes wrong. And finally, brand health tracking, similar to going to marriage encounters. For HR, this is another how question. How do we keep our good talent? How do we keep our employees engaged and productive? Is our employer value proposition still relevant and effective? I will not go into prescribing all that you need to do to retain and engage your employees, as I am sure you very well know that. All of you have employee engagement and retention plans. What I do want to point out is that your brand proposition should help you focus your efforts so that what they hear you promise is what they see in action every day at work. For instance, if part of your proposition is work-life balance, then you may need to seriously think about work-from-home arrangements. Or, if fun working environment is one of your promises, then have employee activities that are fun. I know of a company, for instance, that has a Friday happy hour, and of course, that's sponsored by the company. That's one of my goals for Acumen. If your brand character is that of a mentor or coach, then set up a formal mentoring system. Bottom line, walk the talk among your current employees. As I mentioned earlier, your employees are your best brand ambassadors, and thus if they are happy and engaged, then they will spread the word around even if you don't have to prompt them. Periodic employee climate surveys, both quantitative and qualitative research, is the equivalent of a brand health tracking. It will be very critical for you to gauge how strong or weak your brand is among your employees. So to summarize, strong employer branding has an important role in attracting and retaining good talent. And the essential questions we need to answer are the following. Who are we looking for? Why will they join us? How do we find and attract them? And finally, how do we keep them? By taking deliberate actions to answer these questions, you will be well onto the road of developing a strong employer brand. Thank you so much for your attention and for giving me time to talk about this. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. When I was preparing for this talk, I put together a few slides. And what I wanted to do this afternoon is, after hearing that talk from a marketing and a brand specialist, is probably take this over to an HR perspective. I'm not a branding expert, but I do have an interest and passion in branding. So I wanted to start this conversation by saying that I started my training career at an early age, to be exact 25 years old, which is not a very long time ago. Okay? And one of the usual questions I got when I was starting my training career was this. Friends would ask me, Jerry, how come you wear a beard or grow a beard? And my response then was, since I was training people double my age at that time, you know, we had the challenge of really looking more mature and more elder. So they made me wear a suit every day, wear glasses, and I had this extra talent of growing a beard, okay? So I grew a beard. So my reason for growing my beard was to look more mature and older, because that was dictated by the nature of my job. Little did I know that I was already starting to brand myself then. It was not just a feeling of being mature or old. I felt so special. Because every time during those days, I went to training sessions, I was the only man with a beard. And that made me really feel different and feel special. But all that changed when I had the occasion to go to Iran for a conference. Because everybody had a beard. I wanted to share with you, as far as my own appreciation of branding, is just this word of differentiation. But the kind of differentiation that we're probably talking about is not just the externals. Externals are important. They can help you be identified easily. Same with my beard, Diana Loomis's hat, or somebody else's scarf or a jacket are all part of the externals of the branding. But I think the real sustainable branding that we're talking about here is the branding that goes deep within us. And this is what I call internal branding. And this is where basic questions like we ask ourselves, who am I? What do I really stand for? And what can I offer? In short, when we brand ourselves internally, we say, this is who I am, and this is why I exist. It asks very deep, penetrating questions of what really differentiates one. So in short, how I refer to branding is just an expression or discovery of one's true unique value that one can offer. But aside from that, a branding effort needs to pay attention to perception. Because branding is all about perception and impressions, isn't it? They say your brand is not what you think it is what others think it is. So what others think or say it is more important than what we think it is. So here's where the perception, the way we manage perceptions really come into the picture. So having wrapped up all my understanding of what branding is, in these three things, you know, it's not just externals, it's a lot of internal, and we have to manage perception. Let me talk about from an HR perspective, how we can advance the HR agenda by using branding in 5 different ways. Take a look. First, I said, let's brand the HR function. Okay? And probably the objective of branding the HR function is to be able to enhance our reputation in the organization. Then we say, how about making employees participate in the organization's rebranding initiative? Because probably we want to use that opportunity to build commitment and pride and motivation. And then thirdly, we say, how about a leadership brand? A leadership brand that can build leadership capability rather than focus on developing a few individual leaders. Because leadership capability is more sustainable over the long term. And then we say, how about an employment brand, which was expounded very well by Pauline earlier. As a way of attracting and retaining the needed talent for the organization. And finally, deliver personal branding workshops. Why? Because probably there's a better ROI if we frame our personal development programs this way rather than the usual personal growth activities that we usually do, if we use the branding lens or the branding perspective. Okay, let's take a look at each one of them and see how we can benefit from them. Branding the HR function. Why? Is there a need? Is there a need to brand the HR function? Oh yes. Based on my own experience, I've had the pleasure of having conversations with a lot of HR practitioners, especially a few years back. And the usual complaint that I get is the line people don't understand what HR is doing. I get reputations like, they think HR is just an interruption of work. Or, HR is too bureaucratic, especially during performance appraisal time. Or worse yet, in the vernacular, how line people look at us? Utusan. We are just their slaves. We just follow whatever they tell us to do. But one thing I will never forget, as far as a reputation for HR is concerned, is my experience when I attended one conference in Hong Kong years back, about 7, 8 years back. And it was in this setting where 3 CEOs seated here in a sofa, in a forum like this, about 1,000 people, and they were talking about extolling all to high praises the value of people. They say people are our greatest asset. People come first, and so on and so forth. They were all extolling HR, and then when the open forum came, I had the guts, the courage to ask one simple question. And I will never forget the answer to this day. And the question I asked was, if HR or people is so important in your organization, as you claim in your discussions, may I ask, has there ever been a time in your organization where the president of your organization came from HR? And you know what? Immediately one of the CEOs stood up and says, that can never happen because HR does not know the business. That kind of stuck into my head. Here is a clear reputation of what HR can and can't do. And I think we suffer from this kinds of reputation because if we don't enjoy the desired reputation we have, it will affect the kind of work we do. So I think, whether we know it or not, many of our HR functions suffer from a branding problem, which requires a branding solution. And this is where probably you can take a look at my own simple process of branding, nothing sophisticated. I just say, why don't you first step, try to find out how people really look at you and your team. What is the real true image of HR? Okay, is it an interruption? Is it something else? And so on and so forth. We call that, and the brand specialists call that brand analysis. Okay? Why don't we do some brand analysis? And then the second step is, okay, given your target market, the line managers probably, what kind of a promise can you make? What kind of brand promise and a brand strategy can you craft so that you can deliver the brand promise, okay? So what is it that you can, based on who you are and what you can do, your core competence and everything about you, that you can deliver. And then third and fourth is just implement and then track and monitor. That is my simple branding process. Probably HR needs to go through this process. Let's take a simple example. For many years, I've had this conversation with many HRs that says, I want to be known as a business partner in our organization. Okay? So if you put that as your desired image, and your actual image is something else other than that, probably it's time to really develop a brand strategy and clarify your brand promise to the target audience. You know, but probably what needs to be done here is an honest to goodness analysis of what we're doing as HR. If we try to take a week's diary of activities, probably we need to think, how much of that is strategic and how much of that is operational? And if you don't like the balance, probably that's where we put the right balance and say, okay, if this is the right balance that can deliver the promise, that can make me be viewed as a business partner, then it must be done. And probably this requires restructuring, and probably this requires competency building. But talking about competency building, I have observed in some organizations, while HR is responsible for the training of all the employees, it gets the least training. HR people are the least trained in the organizations. Can you read that? That seems to be paradoxical, isn't it? We're responsible, we train supervisors, we train managers, we train the staff, and then when it comes to us, we just get, the least training. Okay, so that's probably our proposition. So how can we use branding? Branding the HR probably will help us improve our image, and probably as a result of that, improve our work. What's the second? The second is rebranding the organization. Okay. Do we need to rebrand the organization? Oh yes. Because organizational brands get old, get tired, and get so unexciting. It needs to either be changed or refreshed or strengthened. And that's why we need to constantly look at it. It's not something that, once it has worked before, will not guarantee that it will work forever. We need to look at it. But the key here from an HR perspective is, how do we engage people, how do we engage employees in this process? So that as a result of their involvement and participation, they will be able to develop a stronger emotional connection to the brand. Because remember, when we talk about branding, we're saying, can we rediscover who we are, what we stand for, and what we can offer? All that kind of mental exercise is so perfect to be able to build motivation, pride, and commitment among employees who get involved in the process. And this is where we can capitalize and probably partner with marketing or brand people and say, can we involve more and more employees in this process so that at the end of the day, we can have built commitment, and pride and motivation. There's a term that is used. I don't know, I'm sure brand specialists use this term. Branding from the inside out. Okay? Branding from the inside out says, if you have to really do good branding, start from the inside. What's the inside? The inside is culture, isn't it? Start with culture. Build your culture so that it can deliver the promise you want to make. And then only after then that should you communicate. That is what is known as branding from the inside out. So if brand building is a lot of culture building, then it's very much part of HR's job. And I think we can capitalize on that and get everyone involved in the process. Take a look at some of the strong brands we know of today. Okay? Nike. Nike is not in the shoe business. What does Nike promise? Nike promises winning. Okay? How about Volvo? It's not in the automotive business. It promises safety. How about Starbucks? It's not in the coffee business. It promises what? Relationships and community. Starbucks would say, we're not serving coffee, we're serving people. And when we serve people, we build relationships, we build communities. That's what Starbucks is. Apple, it's not about computers, it's about innovation. And of course, Harley, it's not about motorcycles, it's about freedom. So is there a pattern that we see among these great brands? They don't sell the products. They communicate a promise that resonates well with the target audiences that they have chosen. And this audience develops a very strong emotional connection with these brands. In the same way, if we use that opportunity to make employees participate in the process, we too can develop that strong emotional bond. And this is the reason why I think HR practitioners should capitalize on this opportunity to develop employee commitment, pride, and motivation. Okay, let's take a look at leadership brand. What's a leadership brand? A leadership brand, let me tell you a story first. If you try to take a look at your leadership competencies of several organizations here, if I choose 10 organizations, then I ask you to step aside, and can you please enumerate to me your leadership competencies? And then I take out your company names, and then after a while I reassemble you, I ask you, do you know which one is yours? You'll have a difficult time. You know, really, because it's so generic. You know, it is as if one started it and the rest copied it. You know, there's a lot of generic leadership competence. You know what's the problem with generic? It's not focused. It's probably wasteful because you're trying to, you know, hit too many things at the same time. When we say leadership brand, we're talking about, can we identify from among this list that we have, what is the differentiator? What is the differentiator competency that will set us apart from competition? Okay. So that is what leadership branding is all about. And once that is discovered, you build that up, that competency at every level of the organization. That's what we call building the leadership capability. Compared to building a few individual leaders. Because if your focus of leadership development is just building a few individual leaders, these leaders depart, then the culture changes again. But when you invest in leadership brand, in leadership capability, regardless of who leaves, individuals, the leadership brand stays because it has become an organizational capability. So that is what a leadership brand is. And usually, when we take a look at the leadership brand, it is an extension of the firm brand. Take a look at these examples. Okay? There's consistency. If the firm brand says this is what we want to be known by our customers, this is probably the kind of leadership brand we need to develop. Let's take a look at some local examples. We talk a look at my favorite example, SGS. You know, they say lead with integrity. We say BAVI, Bounty Agro Ventures Incorporated, the one who popularized Chooks to Go. They say entrepreneurial leaders. How about the Civil Service Commission? I've had the pleasure of working for some projects with them. They say leader as a coach. So the beauty of finding this differentiating competencies, once you develop that, you train, you hire, you reward on the basis of that differentiating competency. And it becomes more focused and more contributory directly to the firm brand that you want to protect. That is what leadership brand is all about. Now, let's take a look at the next one. Employment brand. Oh, we've had a lot of discussion here earlier, but let me just say my piece. Employment branding is a response to the talent wars. We've been talking about the talent war for several years now, isn't it? So this is the response. And the key power war that happened to employees, the same way that happened to customers way back, that started the quality revolution, was the word choice. All of a sudden, when customers have choice, they have power. In the same way, the talent wars, employees now have a choice to work for you or for some other organization. They have a choice. So it has tilted the balance of power as far as employees is concerned. So employment branding is about, not just about the compensation. We have so much focused on compensation, we feel compensation is the thing to be able to attract and retain talent. We now talk about the employee experience. If we're talking about the customer experience in developing the company brand, we're not talking about the employee experience in employment branding. And this is the summation of all the interactions that the employee can possibly have with the organization. Okay, and this is where probably the old term for this, I was doing a little research on this, we used to call this psychological contract. I don't know if anyone of you is familiar with that, psychological contract. A lot of our employment contracts are compensation-based, do this, do this, do this, we pay you this much. It's compensating. The psychological contract is seldom talked about, but it's very much real. These are your expectations. This is how you expect to be treated in the workplace. This is probably how you want to, to grow in the workplace. But a lot of the times they're never discussed. So when people leave, it's not just about the cultural mismatch. It can be because of a violation of a psychological contract. So here we're saying, can we be a little bit clearer about this employee experience? And probably, and we learned it from Pauline earlier, can we craft a positioning statement so that we can clarify what we can offer as a result of working with us? What kind of a work environment awaits you if you work with us? It can be something like this. An example, if you join us, get to work with the most exciting, interesting, and talented leaders in the company. It can be as simple as that. But that really is something that the company should be able to offer. So I would predict, as a matter of fact, I would predict that in the future, our employment contracts will contain exactly, aside from compensation, the employee experience. If we truly want to attract and retain the talent that we want for the company. So that is what employment branding is all about. Now, putting this all together, and this is a big word these days, isn't it? Innovation. Okay? We'll talk about innovation. So you say, if you work in innovation, organization brand, we deliver innovative products to our target customers. So that's our promise, an innovative product or service. Then you say, our leadership brand should build innovation as a core competence of leaders at all levels of the organization. And then when you go to the employment brand, you might say, we want to build a culture of innovation. And to me, an example of a culture of innovation is you say, here in this company, we have a policy on committing mistakes. We say clearly that if you're trying something new and you commit a mistake, you will not be penalized. We will consider that as a learning opportunity. Clearly, a culture that encourages innovation, isn't it? Because if you're afraid to commit mistake and you'll be punished for it, who will dare advance a new idea in this organization? Reminds me of a classic old story. One of the most well-written organizations in the past when I was starting my career before was IBM, isn't it? IBM, there's a lot of written things. But there was this anecdote which aptly describes this about Mr. Watson Sr. Yeah. Because there was this young manager who was given a $10 million project to work on a new project, exciting project, but failed. The moment the failure was announced, there was a call immediately for this young manager to report directly to the chairman's office the following day. So he flew to headquarters. And when he met the chairman, he already started the conversation by saying, Mr. Chairman, I would really understand it if you fired me because I just lost you $10 million. Okay? So in short, inunahan na. But after that, the Chairman Watson Sr. said, am I crazy? Are you suggesting that I fire you after having educated you for $10 million? I'm going to fire you? No, I called you here because I'm going to give you a new $20 million project. Knowing pretty well that you have learned from your previous experience. That is an example of what a culture of innovation is truly about, and a policy for mistakes. So, given all of that, I talked about personal development. We do all kinds of personal development, personal growth activities, and sometimes we wonder, is there an ROI here? You know, we keep on helping people grow personally, personally, and so on, so self-awareness and things like that. Is there an ROI here? Probably the line of sight for ROI is not so clear, but when we put the branding lens, and we know it will add to the brand equity, then probably, and make everyone a brand ambassador, as was suggested earlier by Pauline too, I think there's going to be clearly a line of sight for value for the organization as well. Now, take a look at this. When we take a look at this concept, if you're not branding yourself, you can be assured that others are doing it for you. That's a given. So we either shape it to our desire, or let others shape it. And another famous, which is the favorite of one, is Jeff Bezos. Another contribution one is your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. Okay? So are we aware of that personally? Because it does affect. It's not just about the brand of the HR team, but the personal brand of the people in the team. So when we develop our personal growth programs with the branding perspective, okay, probably we need to take a look, not just at externals like dressing up, speaking well, table manners, but probably we should take a look at really getting deep into ourselves. The short of this is my favorite Simon Sinek's personal why, isn't it? When you take a look at this, so we should know our why. Okay? So that's what this is all about. Knowing your why, and then probably when you know your why, connecting with the firm brand, and then finally, get to know what is an on-brand action and what's an off-brand action. What's that? An on-brand action are actions that you do that will reinforce your brand, and the other one is the opposite. So finally, in closing, we started this session with a bold statement that says, HR is the new PR. That kind of statement can really scare our PR friends, isn't it? So I'd like to qualify that a bit. Probably we can say HR can make a significant contribution to PR work by building goodwill, establishing relationships. Because of what we create, brand ambassadors for everyone, the kind of stories we can publicize and tell about the good practices can all lead to building goodwill. So we can be a good, significant partner for PR work. So in closing, I'd like to suggest probably that we should seriously consider branding as part of the HR toolkit. Because after all, it is people that brings brands to life. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Did you learn highly from our excellent resource speakers a while ago? Can you tell your friend beside you, I know your branding? Go ahead, tell the person beside you, your branding is... Well, we've learned a lot from Pauline and Jerry a while ago, and it is indeed an honor to have Mr. Ato Giao to join us, the Chief HR Officer of Globe Telecom, to actually give us a grounded perspective on what's actually happening within your organization. Globe nonetheless. You know guys, this panel discussion is going to be like a conversation between our speakers and our panelists, but it's also a conversation that involves all of you. So I'll get it started, but I'd like you to think of your questions as early as now. So maybe give it 10 minutes. I only have 30 minutes, I think. So give it about 10 to 15 minutes. I'll turn to you and ask if there's any question from the crowd, from the audience. There's a microphone, I think, in the aisle, or I think they have ushers who would also help. I don't know if anybody can assist. And just raise your hand and then go in front and go to the aisle and ask your questions. But here's my first question for the moment. Mr. Ato, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Boris.
The thing that we heard from Pauline and Jerry a while ago is about branding and you being an HR practitioner, what is the most challenging part of embracing branding into your practice or in your HR management? Was there ever a challenge for you? Was it even a challenge for Globe?
It has been one big challenge, in fact. I remember about 7 years ago, it's been 7 years in Globe already today. In fact, I joined Globe about June of 2010. And one of the major challenges I faced during that time, in fact, Jerry alluded to it, was how do people talk about, what's your reputation? What is Globe about? And I remember Ernest, our CEO during that time, told me when we first met, first week, he said, the saddest part about Globe today, he says, it's not necessarily about how the business was dwindling, but it was about people feeling that, employees feeling that working Globe was toxic. And the word was toxic. And then he says, but the worst part about it is that it's not just people inside, but people outside of the company who meet me and say, oh, you work for Globe. I hear it's toxic in there. So that was one major challenge. And he said, I want to be able to erase that 5-letter word out of our vocabulary and see how you can change that by improving the culture within the organization today. So that started our journey towards imbibing onto what we believe was a major challenge of changing the entire mindset of people that work within Globe today. During that time was toxic. Most importantly, likewise, also potential clients, potential hires, and likewise also colleagues and customers thinking that it was not necessarily a good company to work for.
Okay, that's a good insight. Well, I'm just curious as well. You're going to be our guinea pig in this entire conversation. But what's the leadership brand of Globe? We heard leadership brand is defined by Jerry, but we know the consumer brand of Globe in the market. But what's your leadership brand?
Very recently, and Jerry alluded to this, we recently came out with a program called Discover Your Why. And we've been working very closely with Simon Sinek. In one of our leaders' summit, we came upon the TED Talk of Simon Sinek. And he talked about Discover Your Why. And most importantly, likewise, also leaders eat last. If you've read this book.
Yeah, it's a good book.
We realized during the time that although when you take a look at the business today, it's all about innovation and trying to win in the marketplace and trying to change mindsets of consumers to be able to do that. But within Globe today, we realize that our ability to be able to serve our customers better than anybody else will probably differentiate us versus the others. And we believe that our ability to be able to work collaboratively within the organization and look for our deepest why. Why are we here for? It's not about being number one. It's not about beating competition. It's not also about being the most profitable company. It's about discovering how can we create wonderful experiences for our consumers. And we came up with our purpose and our vision of creating a Philippines wherein families' dreams come true, businesses flourish, and the nation is admired. Now we realize that is something big. We realize that we can help in uplifting the lives of Filipino families, businesses, in fact the nation, if we can put up the right infrastructure, put in the right technology, but most importantly, use the technologies for us to be able to help in social responsibilities of government, which are not being fulfilled today. Education, microfinance, internet connectivity. Those are some of the examples of where we believe we can help. So, and now today, as we continue branding ourselves with that new purpose, we are now connecting very well with millennials. We're now looking for what we believe is a sense of meaning or purpose, rather than simply just the ability to be able to find a career. So it sits very well with what we believe in today, plus likewise also what we believe would be what our consumers and likewise also our potential hires would be looking for.
Thank you for sharing to us your current journey. How about you, Pauline or Jerry? have you encountered any client who had difficulty embracing branding in relation to their culture or their employer branding? And what difficulty can you share to us that they've experienced?
We do have some consulting projects related to employer branding. There's some things ongoing, in fact, right now. And of course, I cannot divulge who it is, but one of the key challenges that several. One is that when the local organization is actually not comes up with their employer branding that is relevant for the Philippine market, but unfortunately regional or global may not necessarily be aligned. And I think this is one of the, it's also the same challenge that we had encountered, like I had encountered when I was working for Coca-Cola and BBW, where there's just, what's locally relevant may not necessarily be what global or regional would like to embrace. So that was one challenge. Something that's also ongoing right now is we're finding some challenges if the business model of a company, for example, really does not allow them to have good compensation or salary. They're really in the salary benchmarks or the percentiles in the lower levels, and yet it's a very tough environment, tough industry, very challenging, long work hours, etc. So it's really finding how to keep the employees happy, productive, and responding to the business. Now, having said that, we're discovering there are solutions that are not necessarily, does not necessarily translate to cost. And that was, and you will be, by going into your deep employee research, you will find that many of us Filipinos, especially those that are even in manpower agencies, for example, work very hard. They appreciate having a job, and all they need is sometimes a pat in the back, appreciation, just having some. They're saying, I know you went through something that's difficult, and I thank you for it. You did a good job. You don't have to hear it every day or every minute or every hour, but just as an anecdote, one employee said that she had been working on a very tough position. Of course, the compensation is not very high, but she got a positive feedback after 8 years, and she was so happy about it. Imagine 8 years. So I think to me the challenge is sometimes we forget that who we deal with are people who are not just monetarily motivated. And we have to remember that things like this can really can already improve their job satisfaction and all of that. And kudos to this company that actually want to have a proposition that they did invest in employer research to find this out, but I guess many other companies not yet ready to face the reality, as you said, of the hard truth of what they perceive, the employees perceive the company to be.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the challenges that I've seen so far.
I like what you said, basically having local context, and the other one is the local structure. But then again, if you are really digging deeper, you get to innovate and see that there are other ways to motivate.
There are solutions that don't necessarily have to cost you money. And that means that people don't necessarily want money all the time.
Very well said. Jerry?
In my case, I think the challenge, you're talking about the challenge, I do some strategic planning and facilitation. And I've noticed that in many of these cases, the branding conversation does not get into it. So I've been kind of pushing for it because I think branding discussion should be part of any strategic discussion. It's a very big element of succeeding in the marketplace. So that's one challenge I'm encountering. The other challenge I find myself, because I work for Investors in People, and we help organizations institutionalize good practices. which somehow, good practices in people management, somehow gets them to have a model or a template for developing employer brand and leadership brand. So I do a lot of work on the leadership brand, especially the leadership brand area. Especially, just trying to cull what's so differentiated about this company in terms of leadership competency. It's not, it looks simple, but it's a very hard process. It's a very hard thinking process. But the moment you discover that, I think it makes a little bit different in terms of how you grow leaders, hire leaders, and workforce.
But you have to begin by acknowledging branding.
Oh yes,
as
yes.
part of the discussion.
I think the very first challenge is the acceptance of brand and branding to be valuable. I think is first on the table. I don't know how many people really value brand.
That it's not trivial or it's not.
Yeah, I think it is also a misconception that branding or marketing will require a lot of money. It does require a lot of thinking, and I think that kind of thinking of having that strategy and branding strategy, especially for employer, to me is a business strategy. It really, when Globe articulated really that why, then it gives focus on what the company needs to achieve from a business standpoint, organization standpoint, as well as communication. And that focus allows you to be very efficient when it comes to spending. You don't have to spend a lot on marketing because as in terms of employer branding, in fact, your employees are your best brand ambassadors. So it's that challenge of telling them, actually the process of getting senior management to agree on this is what we really want to achieve, and this is what we will focus. We will not do this, we will only do this, which is the essence of strategy, and move forward on the choice that we make. And branding is that as well. And that's what I can get very passionate about that, because that's what we're advocating as a company. Do your strategy first before you spend millions of pesos on communicating, because you may actually be communicating the wrong thing. So same, I think, with employer branding and
I like what you're saying. So branding is a business strategy, and hence it helps them make decisions and trim down their options, and thus help them in the overall business efficiency in the long run. Have you ever had any experience about, I don't know, Atul, if you would like to jump into this, like branding actually help you, employer branding in particular, make decisions that's cost efficient and in the long run effective?
First, let me allude to what Jerry said about branding HR specifically.
Okay.
Today, most of the HR programs are seen as compliance things that you need to do because HR wanted you to do. You don't necessarily imbibe the rationale. So, we realize that a lot of our employees today would not be using or performing those HR programs. Like, for example, performance management. We call it PPE today, or performance evaluation today. That for them is really one of the most, I would say, difficult times in the end of the year. But we realize that part of the task that we need to do is to be able to change that mindset that performance reviews and performance management is a painful thing. So we try to brand it with saying that it's not going to be called everyday leadership. It's not about you changing the mindset. It's not about performance management. It's about having a working relationship, and you as leaders be able to create that working relationship and personal relationship with people. So it's changing that entire mindset. It's also branding the company itself. Or like I recall when we were first setting up our management development program, we did a survey, just as you did. We did a survey. We realized that all the top schools in Metro Manila saw Globe as a telco provider, but not necessarily as an employer. They didn't even understand what Globe had offered to us during that time. So we branded it. We went into a specific data gathering. When we talked to the different teams in Ateneo, they were saying they're looking for a company that can provide career growth. They wanted that they can provide regional experience, and they wanted the company that will be able to provide good pay benefits, top three. So when we started branding our company during the time, we said, let's use those three. Nobody knew that Globe was a Singtel affiliate during the time, and there would be opportunities for them to be able to become regional. We realized likewise also that they were looking for career growth. And couple that with the mindset that, hey, telco is very, very toxic, it's fast enough. But we used that, and it changed that, and it said, if you want to put your career in full throttle, join us in Globe. So, we didn't say it was not fast. We say because it is really very fast, but if you really want to take on that challenge, be with us. So I think that particular branding enabled us to be able to attract more candidates from those schools.
All right, yeah.
Now, did it cost us a lot? It did at the start, because we were starting from ground zero with almost a negative perception about Globe, because they were looking at it more as a telco rather than an employer. Secondly, we realized that likewise also that our challenge is being able to change also the mindset that working for us in Globe would mean more time, more effort. So we realized that for us to be able to change that mindset, that it is not as bad. We then started working with social media. Our own employees started posting, and we encouraged our own employees posting how fun and how happy they are doing Globe. And that is being supported likewise also by HR policies. Whereas previously when we first came in, you cannot access your Facebook within office hours, except from 12:01 to 1 o'clock, and after 5:30. And we said, fine, you can do that. We can, but we also put in, of course, some guidelines on social media. But to your point, what they post is also creating a big groundswell among friends and relatives about changing the entire mindset about what it is working for a telco.
Yeah, it's even more effective if it's coming from them, the employees themselves. I'm going to pause now. I'm going to see if there's any questions from Sir, Mr. President. Go ahead.
I think this topic couldn't come at a better time. So, right off the bat, I'd like to congratulate Jerry and Boris for taking the lead on this.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to say that I met the Chief Global Learning Officer of SAP, and in my attempt to understand what she was really doing, I realized that the top two things that she does is, number one, she's a brand ambassador. So she writes books, she speaks in conferences, she's in the papers. And second, she calls on customers and actually delivers learning and development services to SAP's premium global customers. So if that is the future of L&D and the future of HR, what personal advice would you provide HR and L&D practitioners to be prepared for the challenges of the future of HR?
Would like to take first? Mike on this.
First, I remember that I was talking to my CMO during that time, and because I was looking for an employee communications person. On top of our external communications or PR person, I wanted to put in an employee communications person for internal and likewise also for HR. And I said, I'm looking for a marketing person. Because I realized during the time that The work of HR is just like marketing. The marketing person is trying to change mindset behaviors of consumers, asking them to shift their brands from the Unilever to P&G. We in HR are trying to do the same. We're trying to shift their mindset from their current state today to what the core values are of the company and trying to find the right culture with them. So their ability to be able to create the right programs and communication programs, interventions for us to be able to change our mindset becomes a very, very important one. So, to your question, Mon, I think it's the ability to be able to come up with creative communications programs within HR today, to be able to ensure that we are actively branding ourselves in our program itself, so that then we can communicate the right value of what we truly can deliver for the business and for the employees. Our ability to be able to create effortless, as I said, employee experiences becomes one of our foremost targets today. So that then we can treat them more like customers or consumers rather than employees paid for by the company. They want to feel valued likewise because they want to feel that they are part of the company that's delivering what we are delivering to our customers. And they want to be recognized for that. So our ability to be able to communicate and invite that right culture for them becomes very, very important for HR.
My take on that question is, I think moving forward, what we're beginning to see here is there's a need for more collaboration among HR, PR, marketing, with very closer points for collaboration, which I think if that happens in the future, will save the company a lot of wastes. Because I think there's a lot of waste and inefficiencies when we see marketing doing their own thing for customers and HR doing their own thing for employees and PR doing something else. And I think the collaboration will be very good for the organization because I think that's where a lot of inefficiencies can be avoided. That to me is a big challenge that I can see moving forward.
Okay. All right. I'm in my last. Any question from the group? I'm on my last 2 minutes, sir. I'm sorry.
After Julie Torres from HST. So my question is, how do you think an employer can use employer branding to win the PMAP Employer of the Year award? And to what extent do you think employer branding should be a factor in winning a top employer?
Because of time constraint, can just one person answer that question? Jerry?
Okay, very quickly. I think the whole PMAP award is an employment branding thing. I mean, it really looks at organizations and awards organizations that have practices and systems in place that provide the best employee experience. So in a nutshell, that's what this is all about. So I think if you pursue an employment branding path and you want to get a PMAP award, I think you're on the right track.
There you go, sir. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. I was thought of prioritizing the other members. But go ahead, sir.
Si Boris hindi na magbigawa. Kasi Simon, that's not what that's not kasi sabi niya, pag sa PMAP tawag, malaki ako nagtatanong sa employers consideration, ay hindi daw ako. I do not know what reason why on as that kind of impression. Kasi pag hindi ako Boris na kapagsalita, magkakasakit ako.
Oh, that's good to know.
So that's therapy for an 80-year-old person studying working. Ngayon, this is basic to all HR. I've been out of circulation for the last 25 years since I got out of HR. But that are still basic questions that baffles my mind. I wanted to recuse myself, but commerce na muna. Ngayon lang ako medyo full attention ang pagdinig ko kay Jerry. And you impressed me today. Wow, we have been friends for so long. Pero ngayon na kasi hindi ako nakikinikin sa kilala ko yun eh. And that's the problem sometimes if I know people. The reason maybe for that is because Miss Berlin has caught my attention. That's why medyo, kasi ngayon ko lang nakita na magandang tanawin. Pero sa kaso. Ang question ko lang, Boris ganito, no? This is a common question which is the public companies nowadays. Itong retention of talents. Much to our desire, if we have good people, we want to hold them, we want to keep them. But the problem is we cannot do that. Why? For a different reason. There are the reasons why people get out of the company. And there is a debate on whether it's money or it's more of challenge. So sa fronting ninyo, yan ang isang problem, no? How we can hold the talent. Because even in our organization, our problem is how to hold on companies that would want to get out of the confederation. Just like most probably companies that have people that they would want to hold on, but hindi mo naman mapipili. We have one who is leaving next month. Connected with me. But for that reason, that's one. Secondly, is yung recognition ng HR. A lot of the people still consider HR as secondary. Parang again, ang importance ng HR. I recall in my working days, there's always a debate on what is the priority. People in admin, people in marketing, engineering, or technical. And I don't know nowadays if this is still happening. As a matter of fact, there's a question with IT. Sabi na is it advantages that companies resort with electronics computer ako. Nag-test ako, nag-uupo sa buhok ko eh. Pag tumatawag ako sa telepono, wala sumasagot eh. Hindi mo mapagalitan yung sumasagot ko sa telepono eh. So, yun ang aking concern ko. Is that he responds to, you will not mind by standing here before. Hindi ako napapakinggan eh. Isa pa yun, with respeto sa mga. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your Google questions. Anybody would like to comment on that? Any final question from the crowd? If there's none, I'd like to close our time together by actually asking just one statement from all of you. How would you like to encourage our HR friends here when it comes to branding? Can we start with you, Mr. Ata?
Branding truly makes sense. It is one of our major opportunity areas in HR today. We need to toot our own horns. We need to be able to communicate our own value to the organization better than anybody else. We're not doing that enough today. We owe it to ourselves.
Thank you. Very well said.
Our passion in Acumen is really enabling businesses to achieve success, and to us, we believe that it is the foundation of a strong, sustainable business is a strong brand. I firmly believe that the Philippines actually really need to move towards harnessing the power of branding in attracting and retaining talent before we lose them to other countries abroad. And I think we would do our country great service if we harness and make sure that our companies are strong brands, strong options for the talent that we have here in the country.
Thank you.
just one line. I want to reiterate what I mentioned earlier. I think we should seriously consider putting branding as part of the HR toolkit. That's my parting message.
There you have it. Please put your hands together, Mr. Applehouse, Mr. Lee, and Mr. Jerry Plana. Thank you so much for listening and your attention.